All right, so it's 6:30, so we're gonna get started. First of all, hi and welcome to the Feel Like You Again, Heal Your Gut to Skyrocket Your Mood and Supercharge Your Energy Masterclass. I am so excited that you are choosing to spend your time here with me today. Your time is really valuable, so I really hope that you are able to learn a thing or two from this masterclass and that this even gives you some hope and that you have a good time. So, this is a little bit about what you're going to learn. So, first, I'm going to share a little bit about my story and how I got here, a little bit of what that looked like. And then we're going to dive into your gut and your immune system and what that connection is like and why that's important, especially when we're talking about our mood and our energy. Then we're going to touch on your gut plus serotonin, which is neurotransmitter. It's a hormone. It's also very important when we're talking about your mood and your energy. And then we're going to look at the gut-brain connection and how that correlates with this topic of this masterclass. Then we're going to go over how to fix your symptoms and utilizing data and how that plays a factor in fixing your symptoms as well. And then we're going to do a quick recap and then stick around until the end because for those of you who are here at the end, I do have a bonus offer for you. All right, so let's get into it. So to start off, this is a little bit about my story and how I got here and what that looked like. So before I found integrative medicine and holistic medicine, I was dealing with a lot of health issues, okay? And they started when I was really young, in middle school, 12, 13 years old. I had a lot of chronic fatigue. It was just, I can't even explain to you. I mean, I can try to what it feels like to deal with chronic fatigue. And maybe you're familiar with that too, where I was just falling asleep everywhere. My friends would get annoyed with me because I would fall asleep in the middle of texting with them. Teachers were not happy with me for never staying awake in class, although I tried my darndest. And even just simple things like driving a car was just too big of a task. I had to pull over and take a nap. I mean, not every single time I drove, but enough. Also, painful periods. And unfortunately, painful periods I feel like is really common for a lot of people. I mean, just really just dilabating really painful cramps. And I remember in middle school, my teacher would always send me to the nurse's office to just lay there with a heating pad and ibuprofen or Advil or whatever painkiller they gave me, and I would just curl up for a few periods, few school periods. And it was awful. It was really awful. Also, mood issues. So, whether it was depression and mood swings, especially around my period, like PMS, not fun, and just feeling really lethargic. And those are hard to deal with, and it's hard to do just daily tasks when you are dealing with mood issues like that. And I was also really sick often. Um, I got shingles when I was 21 years old, and I remember people telling me, "You're too young to have shingles. Why do you have shingles? Isn't that what like older people get?" And and really the truth is that when your body is imbalanced, dis-ease and symptoms, they don't discriminate against age. If your body is loaded up with enough toxins and imbalanced enough, you will get shingles at 21 years old, like I did. And also zapped energy, kind of going along with all of these things. Just, oh, I mean, just needing to have coffee throughout the day and caffeine and espresso because it just needed something to give me a little bit of energy. Um, it was a struggle. And then I also had skin problems, which I tried to depict over in the photos here on the right-hand side. So I had some tinea versi color. If you look at that bottom left photo, it was on my chest. It crawled to my back and it was like going down to my belly and up my neck. And also chronic acne, you can see, or cystic acne, excuse me, and you can kind of see that in the photo in the middle left there. Uh, I used to say I had pepperoni face, and I think we're all familiar with what pepperoni face was. So there is. So after after I discovered integrative medicine and functional medicine and worked with somebody to help balance my body and remove the toxicities and raise my deficiencies, I had such amazing results. Okay, I had natural and sustained energy. I could go a whole day without taking a nap. It was a freaking miracle. It was a freaking miracle, guys. And I also had muscle growth and I was feeling really strong, which again, I tried to depict in the top right photo there. I'd always been somebody who worked out often and frequently. I grew up an athlete playing soccer, high school soccer, club soccer. Um, but I never had any noticeable changes within muscle growth. But after I rebalanced my body, I was like, whoa, I actually I noticed a difference and it feels pretty cool. I also had really clear, glowing skin. If you can see in the after photos of my skin photos, my acne cleared up, my tinea versicolor, my skin rashes cleared up, and that was such a huge win for me. I had balanced mood. My depression was no more and still is no more to this day. Mood swing, they were cut. Happier periods. I didn't need to curl up in a ball and just be out of commission for a day. That was an incredible win as well. And also just more vitality. Um, it's crazy to notice what you are actually supposed to feel like, what your body and your mind is actually supposed to feel like when your body is balanced. You just feel more vivacious. It's you just feel like you're in a better energetic state and it's awesome. It's so awesome. And also something that I had after that I think is really important, especially in the wellness space, is that I had education and tools moving forward from my program and moving forward from my protocol that I could take with me so that I can make sure what happened to me didn't happen again, you know? So that's really important. So that's a little bit about my story. And then you may be asking, so what's any of this got to do with gut health? Okay, and the truth is it's got a lot to do with it. All right, and that brings me to my first point is that your gut health influences your immune system. Okay, so think of it like this, your gut microbiome. And when I say gut microbiome, I'm talking about the bacteria and the yeast, the microbes that live in your gut. So your gut microbiome and immune system are constantly in cahoots. They are constantly in cahoots. And what I mean by that is the majority of your immune system is within your gut. And it's estimated to be about 70 to 80% of your immune system, your immune cells, live in your gut. Okay, that's a lot. And so we have what's called your gut associated lymphoid tissue. It's a little bit of a mouthful, so we just refer to it as GALT. This GALT in your gut contains a vast majority of immune cells, okay? And they are the first line of defense against pathogens. And they help maintain a balanced gut microbiome, okay? So think of your immune system and your gut microbiome as the surveillance squad, okay? They're on the lookout for pathogens. They are the first, your GALT is the first line of defense, and your immune system and your gut microbiome always talking to each other. And how that works is the beneficial bacteria in your gut send signals to these immune cells, indicating if something is a threat. Okay, so your bacteria tells your immune cells, hey, we have a threat here. We need to trigger an immune response. And it can be a variety of things. Like when I say threat, it could be poor food quality. It could be something as severe as a parasite. It could be infections. It can be mold. It could be any perceived threat. But the problem is when your gut microbiome, we have good bacteria, we have bad bacteria, and we have commensal bacteria. It's more so the neutral bacteria. And they all are balanced beautifully They should be. But the problem is when it's not, and we have overgrowth, whether it's overgrowth of harmful bacteria and too low of good bacteria. That's just an example. And we refer to that as gut dysbiosis. It's not balanced. And when that happens, it equals a broken immune function. Okay, it equals a broken immune function. So if you have an imbalanced gut microbiome, it causes immune system dysregulation. So if you have immune system dysregulation and those signals that are supposed to be sent between your gut, between the bacteria and those immune cells, the communication line is broken. This is going to wear your body down. It's going to cause fatigue. It's going to cause a lot of inflammation, low energy, brain fog, exhaustion, digestive issues, and frequent sickness. Okay, this is really, really important to understand. And let's not forget about leaky gut. Okay, we just talked about gut dysbiosis, but there's also leaky gut. So, this is how leaky gut and your immune system play into each other as well. So, if you've never heard of leaky gut, or it's also referred to as intestinal permeability, it's the opening of the intestinal wall. And if you look at the photos on the right, see the top photo? It says normal tight junction. There's no space in between. They're tightly together. But if you look at the photo below it, you see that there's space. And that space allows for those pathogens to seep through your gut wall into your bloodstream. And they don't belong in your bloodstream. Okay, so that's what leaky gut is. You have gaps in your gut wall allowing pathogens through. Okay, and you may be asking, like, okay, so what causes leaky gut? Like, how do we get leaky gut? It's very nuanced and it does differ by person. So, and it can happen from a rainbow of things, whether it is consistent antibiotic use, whether it's birth control, stress. I know that's such a buzzword, but it can be lifestyle stress, you work, your family, your job, traffic, or it can be internal stress. That's something I feel is really missed when we think about stress. And when I say internal stress, I'm thinking, or what I mean is, you could have mold inside your body. You could have a parasite. You could have mineral and vitamin imbalances and deficiencies. Okay, those are stressors, internal stressors on your body. Okay, also alcohol. If you're someone who drinks a lot and has been drinking for most of their life, and also poor nutrition, that is a stressor on the body. And NSAIDs like Advil, that can also be a contributor to leaky gut. And so, what this does when you have leaky gut is it creates a constant immune response. Because again, those pathogens were never supposed to be in your bloodstream. And so your immune cells see those pathogens in the bloodstream and it just attacks, attacks, attacks because it doesn't belong there. And this creates a constant immune response, leading to food sensitivities. This is a big cause of food sensitivities. Inflammation, chronic inflammation, brain fog, zapped energy, headaches, fatigue. All of these things can be caused by leaky gut. And the thing with leaky gut is that if you don't fix it and it continues over a long period of time, it can eventually lead to autoimmune issues. A lot of autoimmune issues have leaky gut as a contributing factor. Okay. And then also another way to look at this and think of this is think of it as if there's a leak in the plumbing. Excuse me, getting a little tongue-tied. Think of this as a leak in the plumbing, right? So if you think about it, anytime you put food in your mouth or drink into your mouth, it enters approximately a 27, 28-foot long tube, right? So it goes in through your mouth, down your esophagus, into your stomach, into your small intestine, into your large intestine or colon, same thing, and then out your anus, and you have a bowel movement, or you secrete things out of your body through urine. It's a big long tube where the food you ingest, it stays within the tube. But if there's leaky gut, think of it as there's a cut in the tube. There's a leak. And so instead of staying in the tube, things are leaking out into the bloodstream. It's not good. We have to repair it. Okay. And then that brings me to my next point that 90% of serotonin is made in your gut. Okay, 90%. And this plays into mood. And let's look at that. So, meet serotonin. This is a minute. I'm gonna take a drink real quick. So, serotonin is your feel-good, happy hormone. Okay. It's the neurotransmitter. It's a neurotransmitter and a hormone. Okay. The feeling of relaxation. It makes you feel positive and at peace and happy and intuitive. And I don't know about you, but I don't know anybody who doesn't want to be more relaxed. Okay, I don't know anyone who doesn't want to be more relaxed, who doesn't want to be more positive, who doesn't want more peace in their life, who doesn't want to be happier. Like, we want these things. We want to feel these things, right? And these feelings are hard to come by when your gut health is struggling because of this. Your gut is home base for making serotonin. Like I said, 90% of serotonin is made in your gut. And to break it down a little bit for you of how this works is for serotonin to be reproduced, it needs a little help from its amino acid friend, tryptophan. Tryptophan is the precursor. So when I say precursor, think of it as though in order again for serotonin to be produced, in order for certain hormones in general to be produced, they all have precursors, things they need to be produced. And in this case, serotonin's precursor is tryptophan. There's no serotonin without tryptophan, okay? But when there's gut dysbiosis, like we talked about, the imbalance of bacteria and yeast in your gut bacteria uses that tryptophan for its own growth instead of serotonin. So serotonin's not getting it. It's going to the bacteria in your gut. Okay? And the picture on the right, I put that there because tryptophan isn't something that our body produces on its own. You need to get tryptophan from high protein food sources, whether it's high quality dairy, meat products, eggs, even some nuts and seeds have tryptophan. But I wanted to point that out because I've come across some instances where people have mentioned to me that they feel really bad, just in general when we're talking about their mood, and they just feel groggy and low. And it came to be that they were on a low protein diet. They weren't getting in enough protein. And why that matters is because protein has tryptophan, and you need tryptophan to make serotonin to have all of those feel good, happy moods, right? So that's why it's really important that we get enough protein in our diet. Just a little aside there, right? So with all of this inflammation going on from leaky gut, gut dysbiosis, it also leads to nutrient deficiencies, causing hormone production issues like with serotonin. Because again, hormones need certain nutrients to be produced. So not only have all this inflammation going on, you have all of these symptoms going on, but you're also likely nutrient deficient, and your body is not able to absorb nutrients from food. So that's like a big reason when somebody says, I'm eating so healthy. My diet is so clean and so healthy, but I still feel like ass. I still feel bad. I still have all these like symptoms. It's because likely their body's not able to absorb all of those good nutrients. Okay. So with an imbalance of serotonin, whether it's really low and you're not able to produce it, or serotonin also works with another neurotransmitter called dopamine. It can cause an imbalance in that ratio, and this leads to a lot of mood and cognitive and neurological issues. Think anxiety, mood disorders, OCD-like symptoms, impulsiveness, memory issues, depression even, restlessness. Okay, you need serotonin. You need a proper balance too of serotonin with other neurotransmitters like dopamine for these feel-good feelings. Which brings me to my next point that your gut and brain are also constantly in cahoots. Your gut is in cahoots with a lot. Okay, I just love that word, cahoots. I don't know about you guys, but it's a fun word. So let's talk a little bit about the gut-brain axis. So think of it like this. It's those two BFFs that are attached at the hip. They know everything about each other. They stay up all night talking and jabbering and have three different conversations going on text, Instagram, TikTok. They're always jabbering at all times. Okay, they know everything. Now let's think of it like this. If you're having a stressful day and your mind is just a cyclone of those frantic negative thoughts, we've all had those days, right? The neurons in your brain are going to send signals down your vagal nerve to your gut, telling it that you're under attack. Let's prioritize survival. Okay, and in acute instances, once the threat has been dealt with, those signals stop and your body returns to homeostasis, right? And when I say acute instances, think of like back in the day, if you're being chased by a bear, your body kicks into fight or flight, right? You're going to either fight for your life or you're going to flight for your life. And then all of these different mechanisms turn on, turn off within your body to deal with the threat at hand. Okay, we kick into our sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight, which is parasympathetic nervous system. The opposite is your relax and repair, right? So you're in fight or flight, running from the bear, fighting the bear, whatnot. It's handled in a short instance, and then your body returns to that parasympathetic nervous system. It returns to homeostasis. Okay, that's how fight or flight is supposed to work in our benefit. But the problem is that in our modern world, it's more common to deal with chronic stressors that aren't stopping. And these are just some examples. I'm going to go through these just real quick. So, see in the top left corner, there's mold. Mold is a chronic stressor. If any of you here are following me on Instagram and know anything about my current situation, I'm currently rebalancing my body from mold exposure. That's a chronic stressor on the body, and not a lot of people are thinking maybe my body's stressed from mold. Okay? And if we look up center, a highly processed diet, not having a nutrient-dense, high-quality diet, that is also a stressor on your body because your body needs those nutrients, those vitamins, those minerals, those building blocks for everyday functions. And if it's not getting that, and instead you're having highly processed food and sugar and sodas and doing poor food combining, that's a stress on the body, guys. Okay? And then we also have work and life stress. We all know about that, okay? Whether you're getting into fights with your friends, family, loved ones, whether your boss at work is just putting you through the ringer, okay? That stuff's not fun. And then also we have, like we've been talking about for this master class, gut issues, leaky gut, gut dysbiosis, big stress around the body. Big stress around the body, okay? And then we also have an example of Karen from Mean Girls gossiping on the phone. That's stress. That's stress. And then also we have gut bugs, parasites, H. pylori. Those are chronic stressors inside our body that affect us so much. Okay, and then trauma, the psychological stress, that is something I don't think is necessarily talked about too much in the wellness space, but psychological stress can also kick our body into fight or flight. It also causes stress and can cause so many symptoms. And then we have environmental stressors. That lower left-hand picture is, a factory putting all the pollutants into the air. All these environmental toxins that we're exposed to on a daily basis that we weren't dealing with thousands of years ago necessarily. Okay? Whether it's toxic ingredients in our home products, in our food, in our makeup, in our water, in our air. I mean, everywhere, right? And then also we have Michael Scott saying he didn't get much sleep, but he did get a few hours of anxiety in. Okay, not getting enough sleep. We rest and repair when we're sleeping. We detox when we are sleeping. And not getting enough sleep to allow your body to do that, it's a stressor on the body. Okay, and this isn't to overwhelm you. Okay, this is just to provide an example of how, with all of these stressors we could be facing, the brain and the gut are just going to be sending those signals non-stop. Okay. So think of it like when long term, when your gut is being bombarded by your brain, telling it we're under attack, we're under attack, we're under attack from perceived stress, work, life, anything in your external environment. And your gut is also sending those same signals to your brain because you have dysbiosis, you have leaky gut, there's some, IBS, anything within that regard. And you have this loop going. Your body starts sending warning signs or symptoms telling you that, hey, something's not right. Something's not right. And what do these warning signs look like? What do these warning signs look like? Trying to find my clicker. It looks like anxiety and mood issues and disorders and depression and poor energy, autoimmune issues. That's like the far end. Okay, we get all these warning signs like the anxiety, depression, the poor energy, even weight issues, neurological problems, right? We get all these things before it gets to the autoimmune issue. We don't want to get to the autoimmune phase, right? We want to listen to those warning signs. And this cycle where your brain telling your gut, telling your brain, telling your gut, hey, something's not right. Okay, it's a vicious, vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle. But you can fix the root cause. You can fix what is causing this chronic stress. And when I say root cause, what does that actually mean? I'm curious if you guys have heard of fixing the root cause. Let me know. As I take another sip of tea. Okay. So, simply put, fixing the root cause means getting to the genesis of your symptoms, addressing it, and fixing it. Okay, because your symptoms didn't just appear for no reason, as we've been talking about in this masterclass. There's a reason for them. But also, while we fix that root cause, it's also important that we address what allowed for them to happen in the first place. Because it doesn't make sense to me, in my opinion, to rebalance your body and follow a protocol, but to continue living your life exactly the way you did. Because whether you were conscious of it or not, your lifestyle is what allowed for your symptoms to manifest. Again, whether you were aware of it or not, it doesn't matter. So you have to change your life. You have to change your lifestyle in order to avoid a recurrence of the mood issues, the IBS, the gut issues, whatever it is that you're dealing with. Okay. And I really, really love this iceberg photo. I'm sure you might have seen this at some point in your life, maybe in a different context, but if not, this is kind of how it works. So You're on the water and you see an iceberg, okay? And in this instance, what we're talking about, it's we see and we feel everything that's on top. We have the SIBO and we feel the SIBO and the chronic fatigue, and the anxiety, the bloating, the painful periods, food sensitivities, autoimmune issues, memory issues, all these things. Okay. But we need to look under the surface. We need to look deeper as to what is causing what's on the surface, right? Do you have a poor diet? Okay. Do you have nutrient deficiencies? Do you have heavy metals in your body? What are you dealing with chronic stress? You have a lot of psychological stress, some trapped emotions that can also contribute to symptoms, right? Do you have mineral imbalances that are causing your brain fog? Okay. Mold, and sometimes gut dysbiosis and leaky gut, sometimes it's enough to fix those, and that's all there was to it, while addressing, the lifestyle factors and what cause that, right? But sometimes gut issues can be caused by a deeper root cause, like mold. So that's why it's really important to work with somebody who can help you identify what your root causes are. Because person A and person B both may have SIBO. Okay, if you don't know what SIBO is, it's small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. Both people could have a bacteria overgrowth. Person A may have that because they have a really shitty diet and they have a lot of life stress and they were on antibiotics for 4 years, right? And that could be it. That could be what caused the SIBO. The person B may have SIBO because they were exposed to mold over a long period of time. And that mold is what allowed for the bacteria to overgrowth. You see what I mean? So that's why you should never copy what any other person is doing. And that's why that won't work long term because the root causes are different. Person A was just on antibiotics forever and has a shitty diet, and person B has a mold issue. The protocols are going to be different. And that's really, really, really important for you to understand, okay? Really key. And what's awesome is that we can utilize data to figure out what your root causes are. Okay, this is just a tool we can use to figure out what yours are. Okay, so intern functional medicine lab testing. So these are just a couple examples of labs. It's not all of them, there are many, but I just want to touch on these real quick. So starting with the minerals and metals test, this one's awesome because it looks at your mineral levels and ratios. And why that's important is because we can see what kind of stress your body is under and what the stress response is like in your body as well. A lot of people don't know that, but you can tell that from your mineral balances and ratios. Okay. And it's also looking at heavy metals in the body. I can't tell you how many heavy metal minerals and metals tests I have seen that almost every single one of them had elevated mercury and aluminum. These things contribute to symptoms, and that's really important to see, right? And then we have the stress, mood, and metabolism lab test. So these are going to look at your hormones, specifically like your testosterone, your estrogen, your cortisol, right? Also look at your insulin. And that's important to look at so we can supplement for that and against that in the short term while we're rebalancing the body. But it's not going to tell us like a root cause, right? It's not going to tell us why your estrogen's really low. We can see that your estrogen's low, but we're not seeing why through this one. But sometimes it's really helpful for people to see specifically where their hormones are, right? Our hormones are at, right? And then this third one is the gut bacteria and parasite stool test. So this is looking to see if you have a parasite. This is looking to see what your gut bacteria look like specifically. It's not the best for looking at yeast, though, in your gut. That one would be the Candida metabolic and vitamins test. This does show some bacteria levels in your gut as well as yeast, but we're also looking at your metabolic function, how your energy is, how your B vitamins are, and other vitamins like vitamin C. So we can take all of this data and we can create a custom plan for you based on your deficiencies and based on your toxicities. And that's really, really powerful. I mean, it was for me, and I know it's been for a lot of other people too. And I just want to make a quick note real quick, that these differ from labs that you get at a conventional medicine doctor because labs that you get in your conventional medicine doctor from them, they're mainly blood tests, usually blood tests. But blood is not always the best source. Like, for example, if you're looking at heavy metals, you want a hair sample. You do not want to be looking at the blood. Okay? If we're looking at your cortisol, we don't want to be looking at your blood. We want to look at your saliva. And we want to have a saliva sample in the morning, throughout the day, and at night to see how your cortisol is fluctuating throughout the day. And then the best way to look for a parasite through the stool. Okay, so these are really great because we're using the best sample to see what's going on inside of your body. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. And this is important because knowledge is power, you guys. Knowledge is power. Because based on this data, and also based on your lifestyle and what you communicate to me about your life, that's also very important that I take into account, or any practitioner to take into account. We can create a customized plan based on all of that, that's specific to you. That's not going to work for anybody else, just for you. Okay? While also working on the fundamentals. Because, y'all, the truth is, you can take all of the supplements, but it's not going to matter if you're not working on the fundamentals too. You need to work on your nutrition. You need to move your body. You need to work on regulating your nervous system. You know, removing these toxicities is going to help your nervous system big time, but we also need tools, external tools, to also help regulate our nervous system as we go through that process. You know, getting morning sunlight. If you're someone who sits at a desk all day and you're very sedentary throughout the day, we need to get your body moving. You need some sunlight in your face. These fundamentals are important. They're important. And also education on why this happened. As I explained earlier, honestly, in my opinion, it doesn't matter if you do a protocol and follow a plan or a program to rebalance your body if you don't change the way you were living before, or at least you're not aware of what potentially could have caused your symptoms and your autoimmune issue and your disease. Education is really important so that you can take that when you go on in life and be aware. And also tweaks if needed. This is also really important because I had a client who she had some gut issues. She was on her personal protocol. And she had a reaction one day, actual multiple days, but one day she had a reaction where she broke out in a full body rash, full body hives. And it turns out that she was putting pineapple in her smoothies. And there's an enzyme within pineapple that with certain people, it's very, very small amount of people, but still some. This enzyme in pineapple reacts with this enzyme within one of the supplements and creates that full body rash, that response. Okay. So we had her stop incorporating pineapple and we had her reintroduce after she was done with those supplements. No reaction, no rash. It's fine. It was good. It was just, she was just one of those people where the enzymes reacted to each other and caused that rash. But she wouldn't have known that if she was just going through this protocol by herself and didn't have any support and or someone to like let her know that, hey, it's no big deal. It's just the reaction between the enzymes, not something that was wrong with your protocol. So being able to make tweaks along the way, that's also really powerful and really helpful when you're rebalancing your body and rebalancing your gut. And it's also really important that you have support along the way, as I'm talking about, and working with your lifestyle. Because again, what works for person A is not always going to work for person B. Are you a teacher? Are you a mother? Are you an executive? Plans are going to look different for all of these different types of people. And we want to find a way to craft a plan that's going to be enjoyable for you. You may not like yoga. You may be like, I'm never doing yoga. Forget it. That's fine. That's fine. Let's look at other nervous system regulating tools. Let's look at network spinal. Okay, other tools to help support your nervous system. So working with the lifestyle, that's a really, really crucial point within a program. So I want to touch on this case study real quick. Meet Casey. So these are Casey's labs. And of course, her name was not Casey, but client confidentiality. Um, these are the two tests that I include in my one-on-one program. Okay, that's the minerals and metals test, and then also the Candida metabolic and vitamins lab test, which is the bottom left one. So when Casey came to me, she had really bad fatigue. Okay, she said it was hard to be present with her friends and her family because she was just so foggy all the time and just didn't even have the care to try to be present because it was just so hard. Constant low energy, needed daily naps. And even her naps didn't really, like, she didn't wake up feeling rejuvenated. Okay, she was feeling low a lot. Just overall sense of feeling just low. No get up and go, no vitality. And she needed caffeine and espresso daily to give her just a little bit of energy to just make it through a day, make it through the basics of her day. I mean, who likes relying on caffeine? It sucks. It sucks. It tastes good, but it sucks. And also, again, painful periods. This is so common and also so unfortunate. Painful periods. And then she believed it was just her genetics and that she couldn't do anything about it. And she was just confused on what to do. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. They're just confused and don't know what to do. They're trying everything, they're copying, they're guessing, and they just can't find relief. So, while also learning about her health history and running these lab tests, we were discovered, and I know it's kind of small, so I'll kind of try to summarize what these are showing. She had overgrowth in her gut. She had bacteria and yeast overgrowth in her gut. That bottom left-hand lab test, if it's to the right of the orange bar, like we can clearly see there's red diamonds marked with an H, like that's clearly high. That's not good. But also if it's even just breaching the right end of the orange bar, that's indicating overgrowth. So she had gut dysbiosis that was contributing to these mood issues, these energy issues, this fatigue. And then you look at her minerals and metals tests, her sodium and potassium are tanked. They are in the red. And what that means is that her body is not able to handle stress anymore. Her stress response is just shot, meaning that she's been in a chronic stressed fight or flight state for so long that her body just can't keep up anymore. Okay? She had gut dysbiosis. Her gut health wasn't in good shape. So, worked through a protocol and helped her through that. And after she experienced so much relief from her symptoms. If she had natural energy without any caffeine. I don't think she even went back to drinking coffee, at least not regularly, after working through her protocol and her program. She felt clear-headed and she felt lighter. Have you ever just felt lighter and you're like, whoa, this feels awesome. How do I get more of this? And she was no longer napping every day. She didn't even take naps anymore. She didn't need them. Awesome. And she felt overall more joyful. Okay, I mean, who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to feel more joy in their life? I mean, that's incredible. And her period pain was drastically reduced. She didn't need to take any pain relievers when that time of the month came around. What a win. What a win, right? And then she stopped saying no to plans because she was tired. Awesome. Who wants to say no to plans because you don't know if you can keep up mentally with them or even physically, but she stopped saying no to plans because she was tired, and that is epic. So epic. So just to recap, the key points that we just went over in this masterclass is your immune system is influenced by your gut. Also vice versa. Your gut is also influenced by your immune system, but for the sake of this masterclass, your immune system influenced by your gut, for better or worse. Also, the majority of serotonin, your feel-good, happy hormone, the majority of it is made in your gut. Okay. Thirdly, your brain and gut are constantly talking to each other. They're constantly in cahoots, those two BFFs that just don't stop talking ever. And this all affects your mood, your energy, and your vitality. Also, a lot more, like we talked about food sensitivities, we talked a little bit about digestive issues, but for the sake and the topic of this master class, this all affects your mood, energy, and vitality. But there is always a reason why. Okay, guys, there is a root cause and you can fix it. You can fix it. And for those of you here, you're still here. First, thank you. I have a bonus offer for you if you are interested. So right now I'm offering 20% off my one-on-one program for a limited time. And some of the things you get within my program, I just want to touch on real quick. So you get 16 weeks with me, so about 4 months. You get 24/7 messenger access to me as well. That means you can message me at any time, any day, and I will get back to you within 24 hours. Because I think it's really important that we're in sync throughout this process so I can help you and be there for you throughout all of it. Because just a side note, sometimes this path of healing your body naturally and bettering your health, sometimes people in your life aren't going to understand. Sometimes they're not going to get it, and sometimes it can be lonely. So think of me as like your personal cheerleader and your personal shoulder to not cry on, but short, cry on, vent on, bitch on, whatever. You have access to me 24/7. You also get bi-weekly private Zoom calls. So just like this, we meet one-on-one just to sync up and talk in real time. Also think that's really important that we touch base. You get a customized protocol, kind of like we were talking about, based on your lab results and also based on your health history and what you've told me in your health intake form. I also take that into account while we also look at labs. You also get a nutrition plan so you know how to eat, how to fuel your body as you go through this process. I think that's also an area people can get a little confused on is how best to fuel their body. You also get easy to implement lifestyle tweaks. Let's see how we can tweak your nighttime, whether it's routine or just habits, so that we can get you sleeping, so that we can get you into the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and relax and rejuvenation state, so your body can heal better. How can we implement maybe a little bit of sunlight, 5 minutes in the morning, just little lifestyle tweaks that are easy to implement. And you also get access to my non-toxic product swap guide. So, as we're working through your program, you'll get this guide that will help you swap out maybe some toxic products you have in your home for lower toxic or non-toxic products that your body's gonna love. And we're going to lower your toxic load by swapping out for non-toxic products. And it's all that guide will give you company recommendations, resources to utilize, specific products. Okay. And you also do get 2 free functional medicine lab tests included in your program. It's those 2 lab tests that I went over in Casey's case study. And then if you do want to add more lab tests, that's totally fine, up to you. They're just not included in the price of the program. And you also get a lot more, but those are really the main things that I want to touch on. And if you want to book your free consult, I do currently offer free consults. You can just send me a DM on Instagram and I'll send you the link to do that. But I really, really hope that you enjoyed this masterclass. I want to thank you for taking an hour and spending your time with me. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope this was helpful for you. I hope this was valuable for you and maybe you learned a thing or two. And I'm just so grateful. So, thank you guys.